This askreddit user asks people who lost their jobs by going off on a customer, what is your story? A woman came into a charity shop and complained about every single item loudly to the 10 or so customers in there. Along the lines of, this is all ST. Who pays for this? Like we're some boutique with clothes from the back of a van. She clearly didn't understand how rarely new clothes, still tagged etc., are donated. Then she got in my face about it. I was so angry with her for chasing away the people that came in that I lost my cool. There was nobody left except her since she'd ranted them into leaving. I told her to get out and I didn't give a shit about the clothes or her opinions. She screams her way out of the shop, broadcasting it to everyone on the street. She came back once the manager was off their break and complained again. So I lost my job fairly soon after. I can't blame them. I'd have done the same. Sounds like she had bigger problems than clothes if she was like that. Charity shops are great places anyway. You can find some great stuff in them. I once found a good telescope in one for £20. Oh, the deals were everywhere amongst the general stuff. We were lucky in that shop to come across valued items often. It was mostly trinkets. A weirdly sought-after paperweight was a memorable one. We once had a Radley SP handbag which for the area was the holy grail of fashionista finds. But the complaints over general wear astounded me. I don't think I would have managed to stay there long at all. These are the kinds of people I imagine ripping high-fashion clothes and smearing their makeup on them simply to get a quid off. It makes my own shopping experience sour. And who knows what the other customers thought of her raving like that. Ma'am, would you like to see our shelf of used DS? Quote. Why would I want to see those? Quote. So you can go FK yourself. Quote. I was working at Blockbuster. Yes, I'm FG old. While 17 and in high school. A middle-aged guy came in and instead of using the drop slot to return his movie, he casually tossed it across the counter and it hit a register hard enough to pop the case open. The people working the resistors, myself included, kept an eye on him because our store was a hot spot for kids to come in without adult supervision to mess things up. He chose a few movies and walked up to the front of my line and waited for me to help him. I got his information up on screen and let him know we couldn't rent the movies he wanted unless he paid his late fee of $6. He flew off the handle, reached over the counter and grabbed my shirt, threatening to have me fired. I punched him in the face trying to protect myself and chased him out into the parking lot. When I came back in, my manager took me into the back room, let me clean myself up and told me they had a zero-tolerance policy for altercations in the store and fired me. On my way out there were customers that actually shook my hand and told me they would have done the same thing. That job was ST anyway, so I was glad to be gone from there. TL. Doctor, customer grabbed my shirt in a threatening manner. I punched and chased him out of the store and got fired for it. I didn't lose my job. But I think most people would have blown up at this guy. Or cried. Fortunately, I am extremely calm and collected. And tough. From being bullied so much in middle school probably. I worked at a large retail store and was stocking a shelf when an old, like 80-plus, man came up to me. I assumed he was going to ask me where something was like every other customer. Instead, he started going off on me. Just insult after insult. Telling me I'm disgusting. And all these things like that. Because I have tattoos. Instead of blowing up at him, I thanked him for the compliments. Sugar dripping from my voice. In my head I was saying, "You'll be dead soon," but out loud. I said something along the lines of, "I really love the color of your pants. Is that seafoam green polyester? I think the 1970s must have been so cool. Where did he even get those pants? A museum?" Well, apparently someone witnessed all this. Because about 10 minutes after the guy gave up, my manager came up to me looking furious. I remember feeling a horrible sense of dread. He blew up. But not about how I handled it. He said I should have called him immediately and he would have kicked the guy out of the store. And that I didn't deserve to be treated like that. What a great manager. I used to work in the restaurant industry as a chef. We had a closed kitchen at this particular spot. So customers couldn't see what was being done in the kitchen. It was nice because we could listen to music and joke around without having to worry. Anyways, one day I was alone on the line and a server came to me and said a customer wanted to give me his compliments. No problem. I put on my nicer jacket and went out to say hi. The customer thanks me, then tells me to come in closely because he had a secret. I was like, okay, sure. So I lean in a little. He motions me closer. I move in a little more. This guy then goes, "I'll meet you in the bathroom in 5 minutes," and grabs my BS. IFG lost it and shoved the dude. Got fired immediately. Sexual assault though, right? I'd solicit some newly bar-passed lawyers for some pro bono work. Should be an open-shut case of self-defense. So I was working for McDonald's. Opening to 1 p.m. every day, and I get the entire kitchen set up and initial food cooked. Then switch to back drive-through and take orders all breakfast long. When we switched to lunch at 10:30, I would go do all breakfast dishes. Pull next day product. Roll burritos. Pan hotcakes. Etc. I'm about 45 minutes from leaving. I've been awake since 3:30 a.m. and my manager says, "Can you stay until 6 p.m.? I ask about overtime. She approves it. I say, I haven't taken a break so I'll take an hour and be back. Which is policy. She asks if I can take my hour at 2 and get us through lunch rush on fries. So I agree and say, then I'm breaking 2 to 3 and will come back and work 3 to 6 back drive. Quote. She keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and at 3:15 I finally put down my fry scoop and say, "When are you gonna get someone here to relieve me? I have been on my feet since 4 a.m. Quote. She gets all huffy and PD off and says, "Well, go home then and come back when you care about your job." Quote. So I walk out. Go home. Eat. Shower. And crawl into bed. 3:30 a.m. alarm goes off. I roll over, turn it off and go back to sleep. My phone is blowing up an hour later. She's screaming, "Where are you?" Quote, ? I say, "Sorry, you said to come back when I care about my job and I just don't care anymore." Hung up and slept another 3 hours. Disneyland. I worked in the ticket booths. If you're an annual pass holder and you're on the monthly contract, Disney takes automatic payments from your credit card. If your card expires or otherwise has to be changed, and you don't call to put a new card on file, the auto payments stop and your pass freezes. No big deal. Disney doesn't hit you with fees or penalties. You simply call or come to the booth. And we handle it right then and there, zippity-doo-dah. And in you go. One day, I get a middle-aged couple whose passes froze. The man was upset and ready to talk about it. A common question from guests is, "Don't you send out late notices?" No. Disney doesn't because they're not practical. And again, there are no penalties anyway. Just come see us and we'll straighten you out. The man says to me in a disgusted tone, "You don't send notices when a pass freezes? How does that work?" Quote. I said, "Well, you receive your credit card statement. You see that a recurring charge is not present on it. And you can expect the service related to the recurring charge to be interrupted. And that it must be related to your card having been replaced recently." Quote. The wife smiled. The man's face reddened. And he leaned in and barked, "Get your supervisor. I want to talk to somebody smart." To my shame, I said, "Of course. Would you like someone smart enough to stay aware of their credit card use? Or merely smart enough to read contracts they sign?" Quote. My booth lead happened to come over as soon as she heard "supervisor." So she was standing behind me when I said the emotional thing. It isn't how I wanted to go out. I was 5 days away from leaving for a new job. But I looked at it as a vicariously cathartic mic drop goodbye to my fellow cast members. For them, it was a thrill. I used to work at pizza place in a small town when I was a teenager. One night I took a phone order from some idiot woman. It went like this. Me. Thank you for calling pizza place. May I take your order? IW. Yes. I'd like a large pizza. Half pepperoni, half sausage, and half black olives. Me. Okay. Did you want the toppings combined or separated? IW. No. I want half pepperoni, half sausage, and half black olives. Me. Okay, so you want 1/3 pepperoni, 1/3 sausage, and 1/3 black olives? IW. No. I want half pepperoni, half sausage, and half black olives. Me. I understand the toppings that you want. But I'm not understanding how you want us to put the toppings on your pizza. Do you want them separated by thirds? Combined together? Or do you mean put half the amount that we usually put on? IW. What's so hard to understand? I want half pepperoni, half sausage, and half black olives. Me. Lady. There's only 2 halves to a pizza. IW. I want to speak to your manager. I got fired on the spot. It was easier for the manager to just hire another person than it was to lose a customer in a small town. Oh. And the lady wanted the toppings divided into thirds. She told the manager the same thing and he just went with her math. The BH also got it for free. That seems like a really stupid thing to be fired for over a misunderstanding. It's not like you called her a stupid BH. I didn't get fired. But back in the day we were selling a 1 foot by 2 feet pizza. The customer received their pizza, called back and asked for a supervisor. And the call went like this. See. This pizza is the wrong size. Me. We only have one size for the Yeti pizza. See. You are wrong. It's supposed to be 2 square feet of pizza. Me. It is, sir. 1 foot by 2 feet. See. No. It should be 2 feet on each side to be 2 square feet of pizzas. Me. 1 foot by 2 feet is 2 square feet, sir. See. Look. I'm not stupid. I'm a carpenter. Length times width gives you square feet. Me. Right, 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. See. Silence. You are doing the math wrong. Foo. And he hung up. Edit. Corrected typo. I'm a carpenter. I would not trust any structures that he builds. Good thread. This actually happened to my friend today. Working at Buffalo Wild Wings. Keep in mind New Year Eve, one of busiest nights of the year. Opening employees have be in by 8 a.m. to prep food and get the store ready. But no manager is there to open the store. 2 employees walk to work and stand in cold for almost 2 hours when another shows up with a phone to call the general manager and ask what's going on. Turns out the opening shift manager forgot they were supposed to open. So general manager shows up to let employees in on her day off. Stays until the scheduled manager shows up. Now keep in mind everyone is nearly 2 hours behind on their opening duties, and when Mrs. Late Manager shows up does nothing and sits down to do her makeup. She then asked my friend to do her opening duties while she fixes herself up. He declined because he had ST to do himself, and hey, you know, shouldn't been late and now you're here, do your own work. About 20 minutes later, after doing her makeup, she then said she needs to fix her hair and again asks my friend to do her work. At this point, after standing in the cold for nearly 2 hours and rushing to get 3 hours or work into 1 hour because of her tardiness, he snaps back, "Why don't you do it yourself?" She replies, "Well, do you just want to go home?" He says FK yes and walks out. General manager texted a bit later asking what happened, and he said, "She told me to go home, so I did, and I won't be back." Have your friend make sure he gets paid for the time waiting outside. The GM immediately clocked them in at their original start time and apologized. She was happy they didn't leave. Good God, I have to stop reading this thread before I have a rage aneurysm on everyone's behalf.